Welcome to another 10-minute review. Today we have a piece by Chris. Chris has done something really fun and I think you guys will enjoy it. And yeah, it's these little mini troopers like attacking zombies or zombies attacking troopers, and they are absolutely demolishing them and it looks a lot of fun. I cannot wait to get stuck in, so without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, welcome to another 10-minute review. Now in this reviews, for those that don't know, people that actually go to the Discord server actually want some reviews on their work. So I normally give notes, but all kinds of people on my Discord server also give notes because we have lots of professional animators. They can actually give notes on how things look and what can you actually make slightly better. I actually have a few things to say about this, but I think overall Chris absolutely nailed it. So without further ado, let me just set a timer right here. 10 minutes on the clock. Boom. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna play the animation a couple of times and you guys can see it. I'll also share the link to this animation down in the description because I think you guys need to see it with the music, because it has like this super cool music on top of everything and it just adds to the moment, I should say. But as you can see here, like these mini troopers that Chris created look full of personality. There's so many things going on, and I can tell that Chris spent a lot of time working on this. So first and foremost, congrats to Chris on all the work that has been done, because animation is not easy. For him to do this, it's actually quite difficult. And if I'm not mistaken, Chris, you modeled and rigged these characters as well, which is an added bonus that, you know, it's very impressive. Now, the things that I like about this, right? I like how dynamic this piece feels. It's very cool to see the amount of ideas you crammed in this piece, right? I mean, it's not very long and there's so many things going on. So the way this initial little trooper here actually is kind of like tackling the first zombie and just like goes for his jugular with his feet and just goes down and takes the zombie out is really cool. The way the zombie comes down and actually just like slides on the floor and it's like all like limp and weird, it's actually quite nice. It's very appealing. And then this other guy that comes through, this other trooper, is much less in your face, right? He just kind of like just comes in, turns around and starts shooting them left, right and center. Now the main thing that I take from this is that these two guys have different personalities, which is really good. And this guy in the middle, he's just here for the ride and he basically just wants to survive, right? Which is really nice. And the fact that he's cuts the cables, and the cables are the thing that actually makes the doors just like malfunction, is really nice. So no more zombies come through. And then there's a little bit of an ending, all right? So overall, really nice stuff. So the thing that I like the most definitely is the beginning, how they start and how so many things are happening. Now for the negatives, obviously, because you're here for that, is that there's too many things happening at once. And as cool as it is to look at this in loop, which obviously is very interesting, there is way too many things for my brain to cope with, and I'm pretty sure whoever's going to be looking at this is going to have to look at it about 10 times in order to understand exactly where everything is going. Like, for example, I didn't realize that this guy here in the middle was cutting the cables until I watched it a good 5 times. That's when I actually saw that this is why the doors malfunction. So I think that what you need to do, and this may be not for this shot, this is maybe for future shots, so you can have that in mind as you work on your animations, is that definitely as you plot the story, because most likely you thought about this and you thought about exactly where characters were coming from and how they're going to tackle it. As you plot the story, think about exactly the personality of each stormtrooper, right? So why, like, I have hints that this guy here on the left, it's actually a little bit more on your face and he's very much boisterous, right? And while this guy here on the right, he's more like chill. He's just like, he doesn't really like to get physical very much. He just likes to shoot things. And sometimes when things get a little bit too close, then he goes and just does his thing, right? So those two things definitely are the most important thing, to find out the personalities and make sure they look incredibly distinct. At the moment they're slightly distinct, but make sure that they actually look very distinct. And then second, and this is the most important bit, you need to know what the audience is looking at all times. And at the moment, if I look at the middle of this scene, I can see in the corner, in the peripheral view, that lots of stuff is happening, and my eyes are darting all around, trying to keep up with everything going on. But it's very much impossible because there's so many things going on. So what you can do in order to break this down in a better way is this. So you know how when this guy comes along, like the first guy, right? When he just comes in and actually kind of tackles the zombie, my eyes are glued on him, because at this point in time, there's only him and the zombie. That's it, right? So wait for that to happen, right? And then like give him a pause, maybe like get him to shoot the zombie earlier, right? And then give him a pause that nothing happens. Just a little bit of a pause, then nothing happens. That's when this guy here on the right, the stormtrooper on the right, actually comes in and then shoots the zombies. So that gives you as an audience a pause to be like, wow, this guy was cool. Wait, there's another guy. What does this guy do? So now you actually went from left to right, and now you're focusing on the right. So you kind of basically, almost like, a maestro does, you kind of basically going drums please, and then you're going cellos after, but not both at the same time. So you kind of making sure that everything is distinct, right? So when they are both here and you introduced both characters, and now the audience know that there's two characters in, maybe at that point you introduce this guy in the hazmat suit, or maybe this guy comes in first before even the troopers come along, right? To actually save the guy from actually being tackled by the zombie or something like that. Because this guy in the hazmat suit, because he's gray like the walls, because he's in between the two stormtroopers, because he's barely doing anything he does gets lost 100% on all the action that is going on. So even though he's getting hit by a zombie here, for example, even though he actually cuts the cables at some point and he's crucial to the story, he gets completely lost, right? So maybe introduce him first and get the zombie to kind of react to him coming along and maybe try to kind of like eat his brains. And then at that point, the stormtrooper comes along as a savior, tackles him really hard, and then people know, okay, there's a guy with an hazmat suit, there is a stormtrooper here, and then there's another stormtrooper. Now when both the three characters have been introduced, and remember, introduction is incredibly important for any animation, when the three characters have been introduced, it's at that point that you then go to how do you actually manage the scene, right? So at that point, this is when you have to maybe go back to the guy on the left, right? And get him to actually kind of like all this stuff that the zombies kind of like jump at him like this. Maybe get that to happen after that point, right? So he gets tackled by a zombie, he throws them out, and then tries the other on the floor, and then just starts kind of like shooting them. And then just give it a pause so he can go back to the other guy on the right. So this guy here on the right, he's doing all kinds of interesting things when he goes like here, when he kind of like misses the scratch or the hand going through him, kind of like just dodges it, and then he kind of kicks him in the face or punches him in the face, elbows the other guy, and shoots the other guy on the door. So once again, pause that, go back to the guy on the left, and then get him to actually do the final bit, which is basically this, and then like kind of like kill the zombies. Then go back to the guy on the right. You kind of start to get the drift here, right? Go back to the guy on the right. He actually does some really interesting cool moves here when he actually kind of goes on the floor and boom, kills him, and then has this little really nice like moment that he drags the weapon and then he points at the zombie, whoosh, and the zombie breaks apart. That is really cool. Only at that point, I think you should introduce the guy in a hazmat suit trying to go to the floor, because here there's a pause that naturally happens, right? Especially before the guy kills the last zombie. There's a pause that this guy here, if the audience is looking at the guy on the right, the audience is looking to where to look next. So they could look at this guy, at the guy on the left, but if you go into basically when the guy in the hazmat suit goes, let me look down, and he starts moving, that's a cue for the audience to be like, look at me, right? So as soon as they start looking at the guy, then he goes in, kind of cuts the cables, and then you see the doors moving, right? And that's when you know that's your cue to be like, okay, so we don't have any more zombies, right? And then most importantly, and this is the thing that you actually have to do the most in your scene, is that you need to have an ending to this, because the more epic the scene is, the more you have to have a ending that is fulfilling to the audience, to whoever is looking at this. And at the moment, there is basically not much happening. The guy in the hazmat, I can finally see him, and he goes into the first stormtrooper, and I guess he goes down. I don't know exactly what he's doing, that they are talking to each other. I'm not too sure. But it feels to me, as an audience, it feels like I wanted to see more, or I wanted to see the completion of it, and I don't know exactly what happened after all that action, right? I don't know what to do with myself. I just saw a lot of cool stuff, but what should I do with all that stuff? So you need to find an ending. If you find the fulfilling ending to this, maybe they actually managed to go through a door, maybe they actually high-five each other, anything that you think of that is as cool as the characters that you've seen, like shooting everything, that is basically what you need to do. And that's it. I think you did an awesome work, Chris. Looks really cool. I think if you actually break those things down and give a little bit of a space, you're gonna be fine. Remember, the way I set it up is like basically stop this, stop that, but as you are doing the scene, you will never stop, right? There's always something happening. It's just that it's not as big as you are making it here, right? So that is what you should do going forward. I hope this helps for anybody else that would like their shots reviewed. Definitely join the Discord. We just went over the 700, nearly 800 members now, which is really cool. More and more people are joining, having more and more fun. So join us, and then submit your shots if you have any questions. And then this is just an example of some of the stuff that I do on my own workshop, or my own mentorship, that is at animation.harveynewman.com, that you can actually kind of find out more information. And if you have any questions, you can have a free 15-minute call. But the idea with the mentorship is that you can have a week, a month, or an hour of just me reviewing your work one-on-one, and it's basically this, but just longer, right, and specific to you. If you are interested in that, feel free to join me as well on the mentorship, and shout out to my patrons, everybody supporting me on a monthly basis. Highly appreciate it. And that's all I had for you guys. Until next week, stay well, stay safe. Peace.